DY Scott, where style meets serenity. Escape the everyday at DY Scott, a luxurious haven for your hair, nails, and overall well-being. Imagine yourself settling into a plush armchair, the aroma of essential oils and freshly brewed coffee filling the air. Expert stylists meticulously craft your perfect look, whether you're seeking a bold modern style or a classic timeless cut. Beyond the perfect haircut, indulge in a revitalizing manicure or pedicure. Our skilled technicians use only the finest ethically sourced products, ensuring a truly pampering experience for your skin and the planet. Enjoy a refreshing drink, a mojito, chamomile tea, or something bubbly while you unwind in our relaxing atmosphere. Looking to socialize? Challenge friends to a game of table tennis or snooker in our convivial relaxation.
Every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
The Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) Women Wing will weaken to Rubber State cordially invites the public to their 31st annual convention, which is scheduled to take place on 15th through 18th May 2025. Venue CRC and LCC EB. Theme: the role of Christian women in time like this. Special guest of honor, Her Excellency Mrs. Agin Agbukefus, First Lady of the Rubber State. Guest speakers, Very Reverend Engineer Okechukwu Kalu JP and Reverend Sagarga Novalga Gargia. Chief host, Mrs. Alice Nuhu, or weekend chairperson. Host, Mrs. Philomena Ibrahim and Reverend Dr. Dan Adis. Announcer, Plan.
Welcome to the broadcast of News at 9 p.m. on Psalm TV, the pulse of the nation. You can also follow us on Facebook at Psalm TV, and we are also on YouTube at Psalm TV Live. Now the major headlines. The airport, as aviation authorities in Nigeria reveal strategic backup plans amidst renovation. Governor Zulum of Borno flags off 16 billion naira flyover project as infrastructure that push gains. International news. Pope Francis lies in state as thousands, including Peter Obi, gather at St. Peter's Basilica. Business news. UBA records 189 billion naira profits in Q1 2025 as FX gain derives switch hits 31.7 trillion naira. Entertainment news. As he is the champion youth empowerment and community engagement. Sport news. NPFL finds El Kanemi Warriors 3.5 million naira over crowd violence during match day. My name is Bridget James, and now the news in full. Delta State Governor Sharif Oborewuri has officially deferred house in Asaba on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2024. Marks a major political shift in the state. Oborewuri, who was elected governor under the PDP in 2023, was joined by former Governor Ifeanyi, known as the PDP 2023 vice presidential candidate, alongside other prominent party figures in the move to the APC. The announcement followed an expanded stakeholders meeting, which was disclosed that the entire PDP structure in Delta had been absorbed into the APC. Speaking at the press conference, State Commissioner for Information Charles Agiagu, flagged by Senator James Manager, confirmed that Vice President Kashim Shettima is expected in Asaba next Monday to officially receive the defectors. Stand by for the video clip of the event as filed in by Psalm TV correspondents.
Come. Let them move, let them turn, let them move. What are you doing? Come on.
To build the bond of love that has existed in our state, to further advance the cause of security and welfare of our people, and to a very large extent ensure that development in Delta, because every politics is local, is not truncated. And in taking that decision, we came to the inevitable conclusion that moving out of the PDP is very, very necessary for us to be able to collaborate with our kith and kin and build that state that every Delta will be proud of. We believe that what is happening and the state of the PDP is akin to that palm wine whose tastes have changed, and there was a need for us to change the drinking pattern. And that is why this decision has been taken unanimously by leaders and stakeholders of the party, and by the grace of God, on Monday next week, we will be able to make a very big statement as to the fact that we are moving into the APC. But I have here with me, perhaps but also when you ask questions, you'll be able to throw more light as to the reason why we have to adjust our drinking pattern of this particular palm wine whose tastes have changed. Thank you very much. But before you ask your question,
I was in the meeting. The Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Assembly was in the meeting. The immediate past governor of Delta State, who ran as vice presidential candidate of the party, was in the meeting. National Assembly members, both serving and non-serving, who are still members of the party, were in the meeting. House of Assembly members were all in the meeting. In fact, my brother, all the local government party chairmen, council chairmen, everybody who is who in Delta State PDP was in the meeting. Thank you.
The federal government has officially designated the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's International Airport in Minna as the alternative to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Minister of Aviation Festus Keyamo made the declaration during the launch of Overland Airways' inaugural flight at the Minna Airport. He highlighted the airport's international grade runway and strategic locations, affirming its capacity to handle large aircraft like the Boeing 747. This follows the renaming of the facility in March 2024 after President Tinubu making a renewed push to optimize its usage and elevate its status among Nigerian key aviation hubs. Renowned political economist Pat Utomi has announced a mass mobilization campaign, Freedom Coverage, aimed at bringing 7.2 million Nigerians to Abuja to occupy it until freedom returns to the people. Speaking during his Tuesday tonic broadcast, Utomi decried the nation's worsening political and economic conditions, attributing them to elite capture, weak institutions, and self-serving leadership. He called for grassroots education and governance and economic reform ahead of the planned coverages. Otumo also criticized the media for enabling the status quo and dismissed current economic policies as superficial, warning that without urgent action, Nigerians' future remains at risk. Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum on Tuesday flagged off the constructions of a 16 billion naira flyover and a dualization of a 7.1 kilometer Tashan-Kano highway in Maiduguri. At the groundbreaking ceremony, Zulum stated that 50% of the project cost had already been paid, assuring there would be no cost variation. He urged contractors to uphold quality standards and deliver the project within the set time frame. Commissioner for Works Mustafa Gubio disclosed that the flyover, a 9-span bridge measuring 600 meters, would be completed in 4 months, while the road dualization is scheduled for completion in 8 months. He added that all necessary soil and structural tests has been completed and compensation requirements were minimal. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has presented an 18 million naira check to the Enugu State government in support for victims of the 25th January petrol tanker explosions at Ugu, Onyema, which claimed 23 lives. Represented by Nolim Naji, Abbas declared the incident as a national tragedy and reiterated the House's committed to standing with affected communities. Governor Peter Mbah expressed gratitude, pledging transparent and accountable use of the funds to assist affected families. Other lawmakers from the Enugu State caucus accompanied the delegations to present the donation. The National State Ministry of Health has confirmed the measles outbreak in Rukubi community, Dama local government area, ahead of the state planned rollout of a combined measles and rubella vaccine. The outbreak was announced during a stakeholders engagement in Lafia, where Governor Abdullahi Sule, represented by Deputy Governor Dr. Emmanuel Akabe, stressed the urgency of the upcoming vaccination campaign. Health Commissioner Dr. Gaza Nwama said medical teams have been deployed to affected areas, while Executive Secretary of the Primary Health Care Development Agency, Dr. Usman Iskilu, emphasized the importance of community support to ensure successful immunization of children at age of 15 months. In related news, stakeholders from all 13 local government areas of Nasarawa State have declared support for the federal government's proposed tax reform bill. The endorsement came during a North Central community engagement held in Lafia, organized by a senior special assistant of the President on community engagement. North Central, Abiodun Ized, representing the Emir of Lafia, Justice Sidi Baga, retired, Madaki Lafia, Ishaka Dauda, emphasized the need for a corruption-free implementation of the law. The State Director of the National Orientation Agency, Augustine Okwe, noted the bill's aim to simplify tax laws and boost revenue. It said highlighted the forum's goal of incorporating grassroots feedback into governance and reassured continued engagements with the public. The federal government's own College of Education in Nigeria will begin offering degree programs alongside the Nigerian Certificate in the Education (NCE) starting from the September-October 2025 academic section. Minister of Education Tunji Alausa announced the implementations of the dual mandate during a stakeholders meeting in Abuja, emphasizing it as a strategic move to increase access to teacher education and improve enrollment rates. The policy, backed by the Federal College of Education Act 2023, aimed to revitalize the institutions and prevent their extinctions amid dwindling student numbers. Alausa warned that colleges that fail to adopt the dual program risk being phased out. He criticized the low enrollment figure, revealing that fewer than 1,000 students applied to Federal College of Education in 2024, despite over 2 million JAMB applications nationwide. The minister emphasized that the National Universities Commission and JAMB have prepared the necessary framework for the new structure, which is intended to reposition the college and competitive institution for producing qualified teachers. The Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, has urged an amendment to the law growing the Federal Account Allocation Committee to allow officials representations of local governments in revenue sharing discussion. ALGON Secretary General Muhammad Abubakar made the call in an interview, emphasized that local government chairmen should be part of the decision-making process on fund distribution. He pointed out that despite agreements with state governments and commissioners to open commercial bank accounts for direct allocation transfers, local governments are still excluded from FAAC meeting due to existing legal limitation. Abubakar highlighted opposition from some state officials who insist the current FAAC law does not recognize local governments, a stance to believe must be corrected through legislation. The call comes after a July 2024 Supreme Court ruling that directed federal allocations to be paid directly to all 774 local government councils. However, the directive implementation has stalled, with the Central Bank of Nigeria requiring 2 years of audited account from council before enabling direct disbursements. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, has assured Nigerians of President Tinubu's commitment to ending nationwide insecurity. Speaking in Makurdi, he condemned the recent killings in Benue State and pledged full federal support to Governor Hyson Aliyah. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Governors Forum meets today in Abuja to address ongoing violence in Plateau and Benue States. In a show of solidarity, several governors recently visited Plateau to condole with victims' families, urging peace and dialogue in Niger State. Governor Muhammad Bago vowed to personally lead operations against miscreants, imposing a dusk-to-dawn ban on motorcycles and tricycles in Minna and elsewhere. Edo and Gombe State Governor Monday Opelo and Mohammed Yahya held high-level security meetings following local unrest. Opelo vowed to root out criminal elements, while Yahya pledged government support for victims of a deadly Easter procession incidents in Biliri. Traditional leaders and civil society groups continue to call for urgent, sustained action to stop the bloodshed and restore peace across Nigeria. Police in Niger State arrested 30 illegal miners in Minna, recovering mining tools while several suspects fled. Miners among those arrested were released. Others will face prosecutions. The operation followed a recent mining pit collapse in Farindoki, Shiroro local government area, which killed 2 miners. In a separate case, 2 suspects were arrested for illegal possession of fabricated rifles and ammunition. Still from Niger State, Governor Muhammad Umar Bago of Niger State has directed security agencies to arrest individuals with dreadlocks, citing security concern. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting with traditional rulers and security officials in Minna, Bago condemned what he called rascality and adored that offenders be shaved and fined. He also warned that anyone found with weapons will be threatened as an armed robber. The governor appealed to parents to caution their children and announced a strict 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in Minna, exempting only medical emergencies. Restrictions also applied to motorcycles and tricycles operation. He further instructed community leaders to monitor visitors and warned that buildings sheltering criminals or drug group would be demolished. The major follow a surge in violence and thuggery in the state's capital. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani has called on former President Muhammadu Buhari, ex-Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and other northern politicians, leaders to apologize to the people of northern Nigeria for years of failed leadership. In an interview with Daily Trust, Sani admitted that all those who held office in the past 2 decades, including himself, bear responsibility for the region's own the development. He acknowledged that despite substantial federal spending during Buhari's administration, particularly on social intervention programs, the region grew poorer due to widespread financial exclusion. Sani argued that over 70% of the northern populations, especially the poor, were left out of the economic system. He urged political figures not to deceive citizens with empty rhetoric and press critics who offers honest, constructive feedback. However, he criticized former officials who contributed to the region's decline but now present themselves as reformers. The Nigerian Customs Service generated 1.75 trillion in Q1 2025, surpassing its targets and marking a nearly 30% increase from last year. Comptroller General Bashir Adeniyi attributed the growth to ongoing reform and duty exemptions, which also helped reduce food prices. Despite success, challenges such as exchange rate volatility and U.S. tariff on Nigerian exports persist. Customs recorded 298 seizures worth 7.7 billion naira, mainly rice, foil, and narcotics. The service plans to boost operations through modernizations and stakeholders' collaboration. The Lagos State Government has trained 1,200 women on financial literacy across 12 hard-to-reach communities through its Office of Sustainable Development Goals. In collaboration with African Human Capacity Development, plus the latest training involved 100 women from the Riverine Oko Agbon community in Aboyi, Ketu, LCDA. The initiative, part of the Women's Financial Inclusion Program, aims to empower financially marginalized women and promote inclusive economic participation. Key partners include OPE, Corey Wise, Lashima Lasra, and NIMC. Beneficiaries were also enrolled in the Ilera Eco Health Scheme. Community leaders commended the project and called for infrastructure upgrades to support further developments. Pope Francis' body was moved on Wednesday morning in a solemn procession from St. Martha's House, his Vatican residence, to St. Peter Basilica, where the public can now pay their final respects. Until this point, only cardinals, members of the Curia, and Vatican staff had access to his remains. Tens of thousands of mourners are expected to visit ahead of his funeral and burial scheduled for Saturday, which will be attended by global dignitaries. The 88-year-old pontiff, who died of a stroke and heart failure on Easter Monday, had been in declining health. In accordance with his wishes, he would not be buried in St. Peter's Basilica, but rather in the smaller Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome. Several large security and civil defense corps officers have been detained over allegations of extorting 5.2 million naira from a group of young travelers between Ado-Ekiti and Akure. The action followed a directive from the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, after a viral social media post exposed the incident. NSCDC Commandant General Dr. Ahmed Audi ordered the immediate detentions and transfer of the officers to the COP headquarters in Abuja for a full investigation, describing their conduct as unprofessional and in violations of the COP Code of Ethics. Audi assured that anyone found guilty will be sanctioned under public service rule. He also urged the public to continue cooperating with the COP by reporting misconduct. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, has clarified that the newly inaugurated Presidential Committee on Population and Housing Census is distinct from the National Population Commission, which holds the legal mandate to conduct census in Nigeria. Speaking at the committee's inaugurations meeting, Bagudu explained that the ad hoc body was established to advise on funding strategies, institutional coordinations, and practical timeline for the upcoming census. He stressed that appointments to the committee were based on members' official roles, and its scope includes reviewing the census budget, exploring funding sources, evaluating NPC's preparations, and proposing a realistic census date. President Tinubu tasked the committee to submit official formations of the committee following the NPC's February 2025 briefing on its readiness to conduct a digital biometric-enabled census, proposing a 949 billion naira budget for the exercise. Member of the All Progressive Congress APC in Ojokoro Local Government Council Development Area, Lagos State, staged a protest on Tuesday over alleged plans by party leaders and Speaker Madashiru Obasa to impose candidates for the upcoming July 12 local government election. The demonstration, which followed an earlier protest on April 14, involved supporters of chairmanship aspirants marching from the APC Secretariat to the council office, demanding a level playing field and rejecting the selections of candidates they described as outsiders. Protesters carried placards with messages such as "We want people from within, not outsiders," and "No imposition. Obasa is forcing us on," speaking during the protest. Leader Olusegun Akinoso Aloraye urged that all aspirants deserve fair opportunities to contest, insisting that imposition undermines democratic principles. He compared the situations to President Bola Tinubu's participations in the party's primaries, stating that local contenders should likewise be allowed to prove their popularity. Other protest leaders echoed similarly sentiments, calling for the emergence of candidates who understand and connect with the grassroots. In response, Ojokoro LCDA chairman Hamd Tijani addressed the protesters, assuring them that no candidates will be imposed and the consultations were ongoing. APC chairman Jalili Oseni also reaffirmed the party's commitment to fairness, stating that loyal members will be recognized and that the process will remain transparent. A new terrorist group, Mahmuda, has intensified attacks on communities in Kwara and Niger State on Sunday night. They targeted Leisha Baruba in Kwara, killing 4 Fulani individuals, a vigilante and a 19-year-old boy. The group has been active in several areas, including Kama and Tanebo, with suspicious of their link to Boko Haram. The attack are believed to be a reprisal against vigilantes cooperating with security forces. Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State visited affected areas to assess the situations and strengthen cooperation with security agencies. Mahmouda, organizing from Niger State, has been active for over 5 years, occupying Kanji Lake National Park. While the Kwara police denies the group existence, security experts urge strengthens measures to address terrorism in the state. Let's take a brief commercial break. Don't change the channel. We'll be right back with more exciting updates on Super Media Television. Don't go away.
Every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
The Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) Women Wing will weaken Taraba State cordially invites the public to their 31st annual convention, which is scheduled to take place on 15th through 18th May 2025. Venue CRC and LCC EB. Theme: the role of Christian women in time like this. Special guest of honor, Her Excellency Mrs. Agin Agbukefus, First Lady of Taraba State. Guest speakers, Very Reverend Engineer Okechukwu Kalu JP and Reverend Sagarga Novalga Gargia. Chief host, Mrs. Alice Nuhu, or weekend chairperson. Host, Mrs. Philomena Ibrahim and Reverend Dr. Dan Adis. Announcer, Planning Committee.
Welcome back. Coming up next are the entertainment, international and business news. On the international news, thousands of Catholic faithfuls, including Peter Obi, the Labour Party standard bearer, during the 2023 presidential election, gathered at the St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican City, as Pope Francis was laid in state following a ceremonial processions on Wednesday. His body would lie in state for 3 days, allowing mourners to pay their final respects until the evening before his funeral. The ceremony included an unexpected open coffin procession, described by observers as deeply emotional and marked by the simplicity of the late pontiff casket. Elsewhere, Ukraine Deputy Prime Minister Shurndekar stated the country is open to negotiations but will not surrender. As reports emerge of a proposed U.S. deal involving Ukrainians' territorial concession to Russia, she insisted on a full ceasefire as a prerequisite for talk. In Europe, tensions between the EU and the US continue as Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis emphasized the bloc's willingness to reach a deal, but warned of potential content measures if talk fails. Meanwhile, the EU fined Apple and Meta €500 and €200 respectively for breaching the Digital Market Act. In other news, a 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Istanbul, injuring over 150 people in Denmark. King Frederick announced a visit to Greenland later this month. Poland's Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski condemned Russia's aggression, declaring that Moscow will never rule here again during the parliamentary address. On business news, United Bank for Africa reported an after-tax profit of 189 billion naira in the first quarter of 2025, marking a consistent growth trend over 6 years. Interest income surged by 36% of 599.8 billion, supported by higher lending rates, following 6 consecutive hikes in the monetary policy rate by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Although the MPR was held steady at 27.5% in February 2025 due to the rebalancing of the consumer price index, inflation ceased to 24.23% by March. Net interest income grew by 16.7% to 351 billion naira, while non-interest income rose by 45.8% to 112.3 billion naira, driven by gains from investment securities and FX trading. Net trading and foreign exchange income jumped 236.3% to 37 billion naira. Operating income increased to 464.2 billion naira, with net operating income after impairments reaching 450 billion naira. Operating expenses rose to 245 billion naira, largely due to higher fuel, repairs and maintenance costs. Total assets reached 31.7 trillion, a 25.2% increase, while customers' deposits rose to 22.8 trillion naira. Cash and cash equivalents grew to 5.1 trillion. Net cash from operating activities climbed to 2.1 trillion naira, while net investing cash overflow reduced to 553 billion. Earnings per share rose by 35.1% to 5.35. On entertainment news, Benue State Governor Reverend Father Hyacinth Aliyu has appointed legendary Nigerian musicians Innocent Uja Idibia, popularly known as Two-Face of Tubaba, as his technical advisor on entertainment and community outreach. The announcement was met during a courtesy visit by the award-winning artist to the government house on Wednesday. Governor Aliyu praised Two-Face for his unwavering support of his administration and commended his public endorsement for the 2027 election, noting that the singer's influence goes far beyond music, describing Two-Face as an entertainment guru whose mere presence can inspire excitement and unity. The governor highlighted the importance of leveraging his credibility and reach for developmental impact in Benue State. Two-Face Idibia is one of Africa's most celebrated musicians, known for his timeless hit African Queen, which catapulted him to international fame. A pioneer of Afro-pop, he has won numerous awards, including the MTV Europe Music Awards, the World Music Awards, and multiple Hades and Afrima honors. Beyond his music, Two-Face is the founder of the Tubaba Foundation, a platform for youth empowerment and social justice. He is also a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador, and has used his influence to champion causes such as peace building, education, and voters' participation. With his new role, Two-Face is expected to help shape cultural policy, boost creative industry opportunities, and strengthen grassroots engagements across Benue State. On to sport news. The Nigerian Premier Football League, NPFL, has fined El Kanemi Warriors 3.5 million naira and ordered the team to pay the remainder of the season behind closed doors due to crowd disturbance. During the match day, 34 fixtures against Ikorodu City in Maiduguri, the sanction follows incidents in which the club supporters vandalized the visiting team's vehicle and threw objects onto the pitch, breaching NPFL conduct rules. The NPFL cited violations of Rule 13.52 billion, C9 and B13, 18 imposing several 1 million fines for security lapses. The support that misconduct and damage to property, an additional 500,000 compensation must be paid to Ikorodu City. The club is also mandated to submit a revised match day security and crowd control plan within 7 days. El Kanemi Warriors must indicate acceptance of the ruling or opt for a disciplinary hearing in writing. That's all for this edition of News at 9 p.m. from Som TV. Before we go, here is a recap of the major headlines. Delta Governor Sharif Obewuri defects from PDP to join opposition party APC. Mina Airport designated as alternative to Abuja Airport as aviation authorities in Nigeria review strategic backup plans amidst renovations. Governor Zulum of Borno flags off 16 billion naira flyover project as infrastructure that push gains. On international news, Pope Francis lies in state as thousands, including Peter Obi, gather at St. Peter Basilica. Business news. UBA records 189 billion naira profits in Q1 2025 as FX gains drive surge hit 31.7 trillion.